Everything looks kind of orange right now because I'm wearing my blue blocker glasses. I just did my Peter Smith relaxation audio, which takes about half an hour, and I was calm for 22 minutes of it, according to the Spire Stone, which I'm really liking so far for a lot of reasons. And I would wait to do a video, but I'm finding myself to be quite forgetful right now, so I don't want to forget what's been happening even in the last 24 hours, because after I had that weird night on Tuesday night where I saw that magical forest and then I couldn't sleep, whatever night it was before that I maybe had a bit of trouble sleeping, or maybe it was the night after, I couldn't even remember what precipitated that when I was trying to tell somebody about it. So if I don't talk about the last 24 hours now, then I'll probably forget. And I talked to myself last night, I think, but then I did the Peter Smith relaxation audio after I talked to myself, and I tried to set it up with the Muse headband and have the audio going and wearing the Spire at the same time using two different iPhones. But then the thing is with the Muse headband is if you're using the Muse app and you put the phone downwards to block all the blinding light, it stops running. So it didn't run. Actually, no, that was the night before, I think. Last night it did run, and so the data looked like my mind was really active a lot of the time, which isn't typical when I use that Muse app. So that's what happened last night. It did work, but it was kind of this erroneous data, it seemed. And then I was thinking to myself, maybe it's not erroneous, maybe my mind is really active and kind of agitated, because I hooked up the Muse and then I used the Muse Monitor app, and it showed that my brain's temporal lobes were quite active last night. And I took a little bit of footage of that. Here is the screen recording for today. I realized in editing that my brain was making a lot more sound today, and it's actually yesterday that it was making less sound. And so this is the one from today, and then it's going to show the one from yesterday after this, because I accidentally put it in thinking it was the one from today. But I'll leave the one in from yesterday after this anyway, just for comparison. But today there were a bit of peaking at 60 hertz and 33, whereas yesterday there was none. There was no red bands on this screen here. So the main comparison I'm getting to in all this editing that's getting confusing at this point is that the sound my brain was making was more today than yesterday, and that's how I experienced it in my mind and experience as well. So here's the next one, which was actually the day before, despite what I say. So here is the Muse Monitor screen recording. My temporal lobes look quite agitated in terms of this reading here compared to the frontal. And then in the next one here, there's not very many peaks, and this is strange. Usually there's a lot more peaks, but maybe those peaks correspond to the frontal lobes, which aren't very active. The temporal could be more the alpha, theta, delta range, I'm not sure. And then this screen is interesting because usually when I take a screenshot of this, there's so many different heavy red bands. Sometimes when I'm feeling agitated too, and here there's kind of nothing after 8 hertz. And I'll show a comparison to that after this. And then here is the decibel rating, which I had an insight into, which I'll talk about later, and it's showing a mellow here with the M algorithm. And the decibel rating doesn't go too high. I've had higher later on. And now it's back to this screen here showing the microvolts. And it seems the amplitude has calmed down a little bit. And this was a night, I think, that I had trouble sleeping after. And then back to the screen. And then I do a side view just to show that there are no peaks. And I've showed a lot of different screenshots before where there are peaks at certain hertz levels. And here there are none. So just comparing. I'll show a comparison to an earlier time. And what's interesting on that too, from what I remember, and I want to talk about it now because I can't look at it and talk about it at the same time, was that on the screen where it's going up like this and it's showing the different bands in red and yellow and green and bluish, there was like no bands across this whole part of it here, just a little bit of red in the alpha, theta, delta range a little bit, but no real beta and gamma bands. And I've never really seen that in all my experience of using it. There's usually at least 60 hertz, 33 hertz. Well, tonight when I did the same thing, my temporal lobes were still agitated, and then at first it showed both of these front points to be very low amplitude in terms of the millihertz, I think it is. But then later it showed the AF8 point, which I don't know if it's on the right or the left, was a bit more active. So I don't know what all these things mean, but I was thinking it's interesting, or I was thinking about something related to it in terms of how that screen shows millivolts, which is like energy or electricity in a way. I can see my vitamins in the reflection. Anyway, and then the other one where those lines are going along like this, alpha, beta, gamma, delta, theta, it's showing decibels. So today when I was looking at it, I was thinking decibels, that's sound decibels. So it's measuring like the sound of the brain. So it's measuring kind of the sound or the frequency of the brain in millivolts, but it's also measuring it in decibels, which is sound. And then I was realizing that I could hear that sound that I hear sometimes that I call like the Schumann resonance. I'm not sure if it is the Schumann resonance, but it seems like my brain is making a noise that I can hear in my brain. Just like it makes images we can see. The brain makes images that the brain can see in our brain. We're not seeing it with our eyes. So the brain is making sound that the brain can hear with the brain, not the ears. Even though it does sound like it's all around me, it doesn't just sound like it's in my brain, because sound is kind of different than an image. Like an image is really localized, where sound is sort of goes everywhere. It's not a localized thing. So I don't experience it as hearing it locally. Kind of sounds like it's outside my brain, but it could just be in my brain. And I see this energy in my brain when I close my eyes and I totally black everything out. I've done that experiment before, but now I realize, now that I have a totally dark room, I see that energy outside my eyes too. That's what I see in the dark room, is this energy. But that's not what I was talking about, just realizing it now. So then I was looking at the video from last night with the decibels of the gamma, theta, alpha, delta, whatever. And yesterday, when I didn't hear that sound, or at least I don't remember hearing that sound, the decibel rating was like 20 millidecibels or whatever it is rated there on each of them. So the lines were all like up here today, and yesterday they were all down there. So I'm like, today my brain's making a lot more sound. And I'm going to have to experiment with that again by putting on the Muse Monitor app while I don't hear that sound. Okay, fast forward to April 16th, just because that's when I'm editing this video, because now I've had some time. Notice that right now I'm not hearing that sound, according to my own experience, and I have more peaks in the frontal lobe here. I didn't get to talk about that first screen. I managed to screw up the spectrograph screen by zooming in and out, and so I had to put in a support ticket about that. That's just a mess. And notice I'm not hearing that sound, and the decibel ratings are way, way lower right now than even the other two that I just showed. And I'm going to put in another clip of the first part because I didn't get to explain that it seems that the sound of my brain probably corresponds to the point of TP9, which is the temporal lobe on the left side. I think. I'll check on that. So yeah, TP9 is the point over the left ear, and it's a really quick clip. I'll have to repeat it, but it's pretty much showing that the TP9 amplitude on the microvolts is quite low compared to TP8, whereas on the 12th and the 11th, they were both equal. So I'm feeling more calm and less grindy energy. But I'll repeat that again. And then another thing I was experiencing when I was laying there doing the Peter Smith audio today was like the back of my brain feeling quite like a lot of blood flow in there or something. I wasn't sure what it was. And earlier when I was sitting up, I could almost feel my heartbeat like going like this here, but it also like I felt it in my hand at the same time. Not like beating in my hand, but that same beat was down there. Like non-locally or something. I don't know. It was weird. So yeah, that's what I was noticing, how today I was able to breathe more calm with the Peter Smith audio using and the Spire. I didn't have the headband on. I don't think it's good to do the headband at the same time per se. It could be the headphones I'm using too, because when there's sound input going in here and the Muse is right here to pick up stuff, it's going to pick up that vibration. So it's almost going to pick it up as my brain's active, when it wasn't really that active. It was probably just the vibration of the headphones. So that's not really a good setup. But I think it is good for me to check in with the Muse for say 10 minutes and see if I can get some birds and things, and then also do the Muse Monitor app. And I'm having these insights about how it kind of works and sort of testing it out for correlations. So yeah, interesting how last night too I set up the sleep cycle app on my one phone to monitor my sleep, and then on my main phone I set up the cardio mood heart rate monitor, which seemed to track my heart rate all night the night before. But last night it didn't track anything. I woke up and my phone was just blank. So that didn't work. So that's not really reliable as a heart rate monitor, unfortunately, and it would be nice to keep track of my heart, because that is definitely one of the things that gets all messed up when I'm going into these freaky states. And then also the sleep cycle app. I don't know if I forgot to push start. I thought I pushed start, but it didn't wake me up. I wanted to wake up at 8:30. So I think it'd be better to set up sleep cycle on my main phone because the data doesn't go across devices. And yeah, I don't know about the cardio mood. We'll see if I have to get some kind of solution for that sooner rather than later. So I didn't get any of that kind of data, but I did take 2 zinc, 4 taurine, probably a scoop of glycine, 5 sunflower less thin, 2 melatonin, 2 quetiapine, which I need to add to my mix here. And 2 tryptophan. So I'm doing similar tonight. I'm going to do 3 taurine and whatever is there. And then this thing is here because this hurts my nose a bit because my nose kind of goes this way. And this feels better. So I'm going to take those. And today, I was planning maybe to not take the dopamine stuff, but I figured I don't want to get in the habit of not taking it at all right now. I'm still experimenting. And today's another experiment. I took the dopamine boosters, the rhodiola, the tyrosine, the skull cap. Those are pretty much it, except for magnolia bark works on dopamine a bit as well. So I took those, mainly because I had to work today and I wanted to have that boost. And I can feel myself being a little hesitant to not take the boost, like, ooh, I want the boost, ooh. Even though it could mean maybe tonight I might have more trouble sleeping. And I might have to take another dose of the tranquilizing vitamins if I'm not able to sleep right away. But that is also part of the experiment. Like, can I do one day on the dopamine stuff and one day off? So tomorrow, I'm going to not take them, the dopamine boosters. I might take them. If I sleep fine tonight, maybe I will continue to take them and then allow this whole energy to build up like it did last time over the last 2 weeks. And then try the branched chain amino acids to see what they do to bring it back if it goes too far. So I think having this leeway right now to play around with it a little bit is good to see what level of control I have in both directions, in the direction of the boost and in the direction of toning it down. So tonight I'll see how I sleep because I took the dopamine boosters today. So if I don't sleep the greatest, I won't take them tomorrow for sure. If I do sleep fine, maybe I will take them tomorrow. I have a meeting tomorrow about something, and then I have a dinner for my upcoming birthday. So lots to do, maybe meeting up with someone on Sunday, maybe working Monday, and then I'm starting to feel like, oh, I don't have enough time to do these experiments because I'll probably get my vitamins in the mail on Monday or Tuesday, and I'll have to set those up. So there's a lot of work to do with this, and I am wanting to keep track of it. And, you know, as I do experiments, I start realizing, oh, I wonder if this correlates to this. So now I have to watch out for this decibel sound thing. And I'm finding the Spire thing really helpful because today I was driving and I was focused when I was driving for a while. And I think it was because of where I was driving to. Whereas the other day I was tense. And I think I'm finding I'm not as tense when I'm driving now, maybe because I have this feedback of being tense. But anyway, today I was at work and I was tense for 23 minutes of the 4 hours and 2 minutes of focus. And 23 minutes isn't too bad for 4 hours. Like, that's a pretty small percentage of the time. It's like, I don't know, I'm going to just average it to like 10%. But in terms of the relative amount that this device tracks, it didn't track any calm, and it only tracked 2 minutes of focus. So really it's 10 times the amount of focus or tenseness to focus, which is a big ratio, considering after that I went for dinner with a friend and I was focused for 18 minutes of those like 2 or 3 hours, and I was tense for 2 when we first met up and calm for 2. So it's like a complete reversal of the ratio. Being with a friend at dinner and then being at work where I was tense, mostly the only thing it really tracked was tension except for 2 minutes of focus. And this thing, it doesn't track every second of the day in terms of the focus, calm, or tense. Sometimes it's just normal breathing. But to show that I'm not calm at all when I'm doing that work, I think is pretty big data. Like I've always had a sort of intuition that doing that kind of work slowly accumulates stress over time, and then to have it show in the breathing pattern is pretty powerful. So we'll see also what happens next week when I work, because I didn't have this device. I didn't work Wednesday this past week, and I work Wednesday next week. So we'll see. If it's the same sort of thing, then that's pretty indicative of things. And it's not like, oh, I can avoid that completely, but maybe there's a job I can find where my breathing is calm or focused and not tense. Or maybe there's something I can learn that would lead to my breathing not being tense. So we will see. When I'm at home doing my own research and things and I have like 7 minutes tension in a day, which is like nothing, and then I'm out and about, it's like 30 minutes of tenseness isn't that much. But when I go, how many times more that is when I'm at home, say 5 minutes at home, that's like 6 times more. So the 6 times more, like 600% more, is the bigger factor to me than 30 minutes. It's like getting 600% of the stress from that and 100% or 1 unit from being at home. And this doesn't necessarily give me an excuse to be a shut-in, but it does help me to design my life somewhat. So yeah, the spires told me stressed at work, focus with that particular friend, and driving, I'm not always tense, less tense lately. Like when I was driving to the car dealership to maybe lease a vehicle, I was tense. But when I'm driving to a place that I feel is like home, then I'm not really tense. So tomorrow I have to drive kind of far for this meeting, so we'll see if it's like a tenseness because I'm meeting up with sort of new people and it's more unknown. Just like when I was driving to the family constellation, it was like completely new and unknown people. And there was that tenseness when I was first there too. So I don't know. So yeah, I took some screenshots of all these different things and I want to include them in this video as part of my research. And I do need to explore the decibel question. So that's a continued exploration, as well as continue to explore with the muse. Today I bought some pencil crayons because I was coloring the other day and I was breathing calm, and I'm not going to sit and color for hours, but sometimes I think it's cool, and I got like 80 pencil crayons today. So that's a good thing about these heightened states, that I don't really hesitate to buy stuff, which can be seen as more spending, but at the same time, now I have these pencil crayons, or colored pencils, and I can sit and color and enjoy it sometime and do something that is completely meaningless. And I think I need some of that to counterbalance all this focused, meaningful stuff that I feel like I'm exploring. And yeah, I'm a little concerned about this temporal lobe flare-up stuff that's happening on the Muse monitor. I'll try to find some old screenshots of when everything's kind of even Steven, and I do remember when I was having a crisis in early October, mid-October, my left temporal lobe was especially going nuts. So maybe it's okay right now because they're balanced, but I remember in my October crisis, the left one was going like, and that's when I really felt that like grinding energy, and that sound that I hear that my brain makes is extra loud. So it could be good that it's balanced. I'm not sure. I am a little concerned because this crisisy type stuff is flaring up now, but it could be also because I'm manipulating dopamine, and I'm not. Usually these last cycles of 8.5 months between crisis, not doing as good, and then the energy rising, it just naturally rises, and I'm not doing something to augment that. And right now I'm doing something to augment that, so that could make sense as to why it's sort of tipping close to that. But at the same time, I think it is good because I'm seeing if I can bring it back, seeing what level of control I have. And I feel like I might be repeating myself, but especially this last few days, I can't remember anything. I met up with a friend today, and I couldn't remember when I met up with them last, and it was like over a month ago, and I felt like, did we just visit last week? I don't know. And then I forgot his name, so my brain is in a somewhat forgetful state, which means I need to stay even more organized, and that's why I'm wanting to talk to myself consistently, because if I feel like things are piling up and I'm not able to share this experiment sequentially, then my brain will get more overwhelmed. So that's why I have my glasses on, because I wear them before bed, and after I make this video, I'm going to go to bed. I will need to edit it to put in those clips, unless I just put them all in at the end and talk over them again, which could be easier than watching this part again and trying to plop the clips in the right place. So I might do that because I don't have enough time right now to go through and edit things super well. So I just want to see, I think I already talked about this. No. I hear something, but I think it's just the rain. And yeah, I think I just sort of wrote what I wanted to talk about twice. Last night, hence the forgetfulness, I'll like write down a note of what I want to say and then write another one that's almost exactly the same. So that's why the action can't be delayed as much. And I have notes to go through about the astrology stuff, and notes about sparking, and notes in my notebook, and notes in my iPhone and Mac notes, and landing stuff. I'll try to hook up my sleep cycle app tonight, and then yeah, I'll go into that other stuff that I have in these books and things when I have time. But for now, reporting on the whole sleeping thing is the most important. So yeah, I wanted to talk about that tomorrow. Hopefully I'll have a chance to at least talk about the sleeping and how that went, and perhaps the sleep cycle app, if it actually works. I hope it does. Last point, when I was doing the talking to myself just now for 22 minutes, of those 22 minutes, 5 of those minutes, I was calm. No tension, no focus. So that's like 25% calm. And there aren't that many activities that make me calm besides doing the actual relaxation audio and like the coloring, things like that. Though I just did relaxation audio, so maybe that's why I still feel calm. But at least doing the talking to myself didn't make me feel tense. So I wanted to mention that now before I forget.